Hi everyone, welcome to Erin Airways. I thought I'd do my next video as a brief history of me. So just basically detail my journey that I've taken from trying out all the different diets and all the medical issues that may have arisen along the way, and to basically got to the point now where I've been told that my only option is surgery to essentially help me with my weight loss. So essentially, I wasn't born in the UK. I was born in Europe and lived there till I was 10. So lived quite an active life. My primary school was a good hour and a half walk away from where we lived. Also coming from a family of mainly people that lived off what they could grow and rear. We never really had, I suppose, what some might say is a westernized diet. Things like chocolate and crisps and sweets were a very rare treat for us, which I don't think is the main reason why a lot of people are overweight, to be honest. But I'm just saying that my diet growing up was very based on just pulses, grains, mainly potatoes. We grew a lot of potatoes, and the animals that we could rear, so mainly beef and chickens and pork. So growing up, I wouldn't say I was an overweight child as such. I was probably slightly bigger than my other cousins and brother and sister, but not overly bigger. In fact, my sister is only about, I think, 2 years younger than me, just under. And my mum used to dress us up as twins. We used to dress us up in the same stuff, and people used to think we were twins. So obviously, and she's a lot thinner or slimmer than me, whichever way you want to put it. So I don't think my weight became a problem until I actually hit puberty. Obviously around that time I moved to the UK when I was 10. Obviously lifestyles changed to the point of where we were living in quite a rural part of where we were living. We were quite safe walking to and from school by ourselves at the age of 10, which was an hour and a half's walk, plus all the other activities that we used to have to partake in. Summers were spent helping out family in the fields, bringing in the harvest, etc. Moved to the UK to quite a sedentary lifestyle where we're kind of indoors, still able to go out and about and roam, but not as much, and the diet obviously is completely different. And it was the old age, I suppose, cliche of the less money you got, the worse quality food you can buy. So the cheapest thing to buy were stuff like chips, etc. Not that that's what we lived on, but sometimes when we did have a treat, they weren't very good treats. My weight became essentially a problem and out of the norm once I hit puberty. I put on a lot of weight. I'd probably say about 5 stones between the ages of about 13 and 14. It came on very quickly. My mum was even puzzled as to why I was outgrowing, as in horizontally outgrowing clothes faster than she would have anticipated. I mean, school uniform was a bit of a nightmare, especially for a low-income family. A bit of a nightmare trying to find school uniform that was essentially needed to be for the size of an adult for a 14-year-old. So by the time I was about 14, 15, I was already at a size 20, 18, 20. Nothing seemed to help, and she was puzzled because we were all eating the same. It wasn't that I was pigging out on more portions or so it was puzzling for them. When I reached about the age of 15, 16, at the end of my GCSEs, beginning of my A-levels, I don't know if you guys remember good old More magazine. It used to be a teenage girly magazine back in the late 90s that I read an article about PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and pretty much every symptom that they detailed I could put a tick in that box. So I decided to, quite bravely I suppose, book a doctor's appointment myself and go along to the doctors with this article and pretty much say, I'm very sure I've got this syndrome, because essentially everything that it details in the syndrome I've got, and plenty of. So my doctor at the time did send me off for tests. I spent 18 months doing blood tests and God knows what else, you know, I remember one where they gave me some steroids that I had to take specifically every 4 hours for a space of 48 hours before I could do some blood tests. And I was like meant having to set the alarm and get up at whatever time during the night to literally just pop the steroid and then go back to sleep. So at the end of it, I wasn't really diagnosed with PCOS. To be fair, there wasn't much research on the syndrome at the time, but I do remember at the time my doctor pretty much, or the doctor at the hospital that had been overseeing all my tests, pretty much turned around to me and said, oh, you know, your hormones are out of whack a bit, but they're not as high as they should be for the kind of symptoms you're exhibiting. So we think it's just your weight and that you should lose weight. And obviously one of the main symptoms of PCOS is the hirsutism, which is the male pattern hair growth. And he basically turned around to me and said, oh, you're of a Mediterranean background and Mediterranean women are generally hairier, so that would explain why, which is incredulous, but hey, this was the late 90s and I was just some 16-year-old that was trying to find out what was wrong with her and nobody could give me any answers. So putting my trust in a doctor who'd gone to university and done a medical degree, I kind of took that. So off I went to uni, and throughout uni my symptoms did get worse and I did put on more weight. In fact, my first year of uni I actually ran out of money because I didn't budget, to be fair, very well, and I got to the point where for about, I would say just under a year, all I could afford to eat was toast. So for about a year all I ate was toast, with the odd meal here and there where I could scrape my pennies together for some pasta and sauce or some super noodles on toast. But essentially during that time I did manage to lose quite a fair bit of weight. I went down to my lowest weight I'd ever been since monitoring or being aware of my weight, which was 78 kilograms. And but obviously the side effects weren't nice. Yes, I was slim, but I was extremely malnourished. My hair started falling out, my gums were bleeding every time I brushed my teeth. I'd gone a bit yellow, which with my Mediterranean complexion had probably just made me look like I was a bit more suntanned, but yeah, I did not look healthy and I didn't feel healthy, but hey, I was slim. So that did happen. But then once I started, you know, left uni and for that summer and started working and got a bit of money and started eating normally again, the weight just quickly piled back on and just left me in a state of, I didn't know what was wrong with me again, why it was happening. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. I certainly couldn't afford to be eating an excessive amount of calories a day, and I wasn't, but obviously I wasn't living off 4 bits of toast a day. So again, I went back to the doctors at university, and I suppose the general, after again about 6 months of tests, I was told it was my student lifestyle that was the main reason why I was the way I was, and that I should just lose some weight again. So again, kind of left it. Symptoms got progressively worse. Left uni, went on to get a job. I was working in London at the time, a really high stressful job, and my symptoms just were progressively getting worse. So we'd moved to a bit just outside London, and my now husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, kind of convinced me, because by then I'd lost all faith in doctors and finding what actually was wrong with me. So my husband convinced me to go and see the doctor there, as it was a new doctor, a new area, that I might get a new insight. And obviously by then it was maybe about 6 or 7 years after I'd originally, no, it was more than that. It was maybe about 8 years after I'd originally tried to get myself taken seriously for having PCOS. So went along to my new doctor and explained, and he was extremely understanding and sent me off to the local university hospital where they did specialise in endocrinology, and I was able to get finally diagnosed with PCOS. Again, went through another 18 months, good old NHS, another 18 months of waiting, of being sent to the wrong specialist, to only have a 10-minute appointment and be told, you don't need to be here right now, you need to be seeing that specialist first. So that was quite frustrating, but I was finally diagnosed with my syndrome of PCOS. So since then, I've been on a variety of different drugs to manage it. The first drug they gave me was metformin, which then screwed up my liver. One of the very, very rare side effects, but it does happen. Screwed up my liver, which then ended up with me becoming extremely hypersensitive to loads of food I ate and ending up in a ridiculous amount of pain and ending up in hospital for a week with liver inflammation and with a gallbladder infection. So for about 2-3 years, the foods I could eat that wouldn't trigger pain gradually became a very, very small list. So I finally had my gallbladder out in February 2012. And in February 2012, had my gallbladder out and was able to eat normally again. In that time, I had been going to the gym. I was running for 3 to 4 times a week. I was running 5k. I'd actually got quite proud of myself. I managed to run a whole 5k, or got to the point where I could run whole 5 kilometers without stopping. So that used to take me about 47 minutes, I think was my fastest time. Hey, I'm really short, so please forgive me on that one. So essentially, I was being healthy, I was eating healthy, I was very restricted by what I could eat, but I was trying to make healthy choices, and towards the end all I could eat without triggering any pain was stuff like plain bread, plain salad. There was literally no meat, no dairy, no oils in my diet, but I was supplementing it with vitamins, etc. So I was following a healthy lifestyle and trying to do as much exercise as I could, but that again only still took me down to about 90 kilograms. The day of my gallbladder operation, I was at about 90 kilograms. So after my gallbladder operation, and because I was a lot slimmer, my husband and I decided to potentially, it might be a good time to see if we could conceive and have a child, and we were very lucky to have a baby boy. Quite quickly managed to conceive. However, again, my hormones went crazy during my pregnancy, not necessarily because of the PCOS, but it was a bit puzzling for the consultant that was actually overseeing my pregnancy, because all the indicators didn't, what's it they said, they couldn't really understand why my body was being so affected by my pregnancy hormones. When they did tests, everything kept coming back within the normal range. Towards a very late stage of pregnancy, I think it was 32 weeks, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, which again I managed through diet and just doing checking my blood sugar before and after every time I ate, and just managed it through diet because I was very wary of injecting insulin. I managed to have a very healthy baby boy, so it was very good. But towards the end of my pregnancy, my kidneys started getting attacked, and my kidneys, or I went into kidney failure or near kidney failure, and my blood pressure went extremely high because of that. So since then, my kidney function has been heavily monitored. So my son is now 2 years old, and since then, every 6 months, I've been having blood tests, etc., to essentially monitor how my kidneys are performing and whether they're going back to the levels that they need to be, which they have predominantly, but not going up as high as they should be or as fast. So again, my results of my last kidney or my last blood test to check all of that were referred to an endocrinologist, who then essentially said, I think there's something else at play here, and they looked more into my results and tests and previous tests and came to quite a conclusive decision that I also suffer from Metabolic Syndrome X, which is where your body produces way too much insulin. So since being told all of this, I've actually learnt or gone on to research and find out that type 1 diabetes is where you don't produce any insulin. Type 2 is where you don't produce enough. And insulin resistance, or the main factor of Metabolic Syndrome X, is where you produce too much, or hyperinsulinity. And that insulin just essentially pretty much stores a lot of the calories you eat automatically. It doesn't even burn up some calories, and then when you've eaten to excess, it goes, right, these are going to be stored. It's literally, I could be living off 1,000 calories a day and it would automatically store some of that, whatever rate it is, I don't know, and but let's say an arbitrary amount, let's say I eat 1,000 calories a day, it automatically stores the 500, whether it should or not, it just automatically stores. And then all that extra insulin that's floating about in my body is also constantly telling me that I'm hungry, because it's going, well, I've only stored 500 calories today, so, and I've only burnt 500, so you obviously need to eat more. So you'd eat another 1,000, let's say, and then it automatically stores another 500. So as far as your body's aware, by that point, you've only eaten and burnt 1,000. So it goes, well, even though you've consumed 2,000. So then it goes, well, hang on a minute, I'm lacking calories here. So it constantly makes you in this circle of hunger, of, to the point where it's just constant hunger. And obviously you don't know what other people feel like, and what you experience is what's normal to you. And to me, I thought that was what was normal. And, you know, I knew for sure that I wasn't eating the excess of what, for example, watching programs like, I don't know, we all watch it for the shock factor and stuff, but watching stuff like super size versus super skinny and stuff like that, and they'd go through what the supersized person on the screen would be standing there weighing less than me, but I did not eat half of the stuff or half as much as what they ate, and that was always really frustrating. So after all that kicked off, I was asked to go and see a bariatric surgeon who, in conjunction with the endocrinologist, made the decision that I was diagnosed with that syndrome, and that realistically I was only really going to be down to a normal BMI, or avoid all the diseases that are kind of earmarked to get because of these two syndromes by having bariatric surgery. We had a 2-hour appointment, which was quite intense. I might do another video about it. I'll do another video about my pre-op appointment, plus all the pre-op diet, etc. stuff. Essentially, we went through the various different bariatric surgery options, and I was advised that the best one for me would be the RNY procedure, which is not only restricting the amount of calories you eat, but is also essentially rewiring within your intestine it bypasses a certain amount of intestine that would also be doing the calorie absorption. So not only are you eating less, you also absorbing less calories as well, because if my body's tendency is to automatically absorb something, then just the little amount that I eat will be enough, because essentially in the normal person a lot of it would just go past and not get absorbed, whereas mine goes past and all gets taken in straight away. So I'm now currently about 4 weeks away from my operation. All happened very fast. It's all happened since the end of October. This has happened. I'd originally got given a date for surgery as the 20th of December, but that was moved to beginning of February. So that's where I stand right now. Just on my very depressing pre-op diet, which I'll do another video about, and just gonna see what happens.